Kindly introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
My name is Ruth Oketch, Oketch being my dad, and I'm here in Githogoro. Githogoro is a slum right inside Runda. Deep inside Runda, there's a slum called Githogoro. And here we nurture children, we transform them, and to send them outside there to be good people that are not drug associated or not into sexual activities, but big people that can transform the world. So when I came back here, my idea is just to find 2 or 3 people, transform them, send them outside there. And if I achieve by getting 1 or 2 or 3 outside there who can come back and transform more others, I'm just good to go. So here we have children, it's a school, and we take care of them, their needs, basic needs, apart from housing, because housing they have to go back to their parents. So they take their breakfast here, they come, they take tea in the morning, they take porridge at 10 o'clock, and then they take their lunch at 12:30. And then depending on their background situation, there are those that we even give packed lunch for their night. So if possible, that is.
Okay, and what kind of kids do you have in this school, like in terms of needs?
We have, our needs are dynamic, depending on where we are, and every children is very unique and coming with very different needs. There are those that don't have clothing, and sometimes we source from friends, sometimes we source from us teachers. You bring the clothes of your children that they are no longer putting on. There are those that can't afford school uniforms, so sometimes we contribute, sometimes we approach a person or a company to bring us the uniforms. The learning materials is another challenge. Some cannot even afford an exercise book, so we make sure by the beginning of the term, or when the term opens, we have stationaries in place, the pencils, the crayons, but we need the basics. Sometimes we might not expect the bigger picture of the CBC, but we use the basic, the very, very basic.
What were you doing before you came here?
My story of Githogoro is coming in two different parts. There is a part that I was here, that is from 1997. We had moved here when my husband lost his job, and we were on a transit. I was to come for 2 or 3 weeks, then we moved, we find our way out, get another job or do something else and get ourselves out of Githogoro, because it was a village. It was not as big as it is now, it was just a village, a very small village. But I never knew it was my area of assignment, and that is, today I know that is why we never moved out. So from 1997 I stayed for 7-8 years before now I left now to do the job I was doing. So in 1997 when I came, I joined a church, and they needed a teacher, so I applied and I got the job. So I started as an untrained teacher. I joined as an untrained teacher, and I was to support another lady that was there. There was a teacher, so they needed a support teacher. So when I went there, I think that is where the beauty of this story is, that I thought it was a school. So I went there very early in the morning at 7:30, because I knew work starts at 8, so I was there at 7:30 because I never had a child. I was very single, very young. I was 21 going to 22, very young, very simple, very idle, by the way. So I left my house and went to church at 7:30 because I knew the children would be there by 8. So the teacher had not come, so the children were meeting in the church. I thought it was a school, so I knew the lessons would start. So at 9:30, the teacher now comes. The teacher that had been there comes in and tells me that you don't have to come early. Here, the children will come at 10. So I thought, 10? How does that work? So after some time, I saw a girl, very dirty, hana viatu, walking just barefoot, coming, very dirty. I think she's whitish, ameparara. Nywele looked shaggy. She had not even washed her face, so I thought she was a street child passing, but that was one of the students. So that day they came, 3 of them. None had showered. So I was shocked because I thought it was a school. So we sang, and then they left at 1. So the school has ended at 1. So the next, I think the first 1 week was a challenge. It was a shock. But then I was determined. I started loving these children because one thing, they loved me back. The love of the children is very genuine. That is what keeps me going. So they were very genuine. And they wanted to understand me. One, there was language barrier. I never understood Kikuyu. They never understood Kiswahili. So this other teacher was my interpreter. So they would say this, and they would tell the teacher, tell her what we are saying. So I think I enjoyed the moment for some time. So after 1 month, after I received my salary, I realized it was not right for them to go to the toilet without shoes. It was not right for them just to come, sing, and go. So my first salary, I cashed at the village market, KCB. Then went to Nakumat. I bought some exercise books, the 32 pages, and some pencils. And I went to the Bata and bought 3 pairs of slippers. So the slippers were for them to go to the toilet, because you see, they would go to the toilet. The toilet would be used on Sunday, and it was a pit latrine. It wasn't clean. And then they would come tomorrow, use the same toilet without shoes. Thanks be to God, I got a job with the Catholic Medical Mission. There was a program that was being sponsored by the South African guys. It was called the Mothers to Mothers Foundation. It was a program that would help mothers. By then, HIV was very rampant. At some point, I was at school, and I was also working with the HIV positive patients around the village, going door to door, taking drugs to them. So by this time, when the program came into Kenya through the Catholic Medical Mission Board, so I applied, and I got the job at the site coordinator. And they started with 6 sites, 3 faith-based and 3 government hospitals. So I was posted in one of the faith-based, that is Nazareth Mission Hospital, and I was the site coordinator of that program at that point. It wasn't easy, and making sure that these children are negative at 2 years. I enjoyed that job. I loved it, and I worked with very many women. Even today, they are my friends, and we really saved several children. Out of my salary, I could again sustain the school. By the way, at some point, it had issues with my family.
Leaving your job for let me call it humanitarian work meant that you had to make some adjustments and sacrifices. How did these impact your family? How did these impact you at a personal level?
I always had that conviction that this is what God wants me to do. You know, there's a time we go to prayer, but I would tell God, but at Ahuku, I'm helping people. I'm still transforming lives. I'm still giving people hope. Why should it be Githogoro? Why? So I would pray and convince God that because I'm doing this, and out of my salary I'm supporting Githogoro. You know, staying Githogoro is not easy. It is not a conducive environment. Having worked in an international organization where you have a beautiful office, chai iko hapo, mishahara inakuja, at the end of the year you have your gratuity, it was comfortable. So even supporting these children and having my comfort outside Githogoro was a blessing. But every time I would pray, God would convict me that Githogoro is this place. So in 2016, I shared my intentions with my friends and shared my intentions also with the HR then. And she was, no. We went through the financial implications with the HR and the people around me, and we realized, no, I can support the school through the salary, because the idea was you are supporting the school through your salary. What happens if you now abandon everything and go there? How will you support the school? Of which that was a genuine idea. So I never resigned in 2016. But then 2017 and 2018, I never got peace at my place of work. And every time I would pray, God would convict me to go back to Githogoro. And I would tell God, how am I going back to Githogoro? Uko hakuna pesa. Uko aki watu. I have lived there and I understand the people better. And God, you have already taken me out of there. I've gone to school. I've made my papers better for promotions. Instead of promoting me, you are demoting me back to Githogoro. Matope, hakuna choo, aki Mungu. By the way, I have never prayed and been angry with God like those 2 years. But nothing happened. God went silent. things went so bad. I never got peace at my place of work. So in 2018 going to 2019, now I started planning to move out, because now God had assured me that he would go together with me. By then my daughter was in a school, in a primary school, Carmel Hill Catholic School in Nyeri. We were paying 120,000, and I would pay out of my gratuity. You know, at the end of the year you have your gratuity, you can throw it in there. My son was going to the university. I think he was going to the university in 2019. I had another son. So these were things that I would ask God, how was I going to do this? One of the things I did, one of the sacrifices I did, was to move from an expensive house back to a house that I would pay 15,000. The one I was in, I was paying 25,000, so I moved. But I've realized that I couldn't have moved because I needed a bigger house. Because sometimes there are children here that I have to take back home as we find their parents. So it sometimes becomes difficult. I wish I still had that house because it was bigger. So I had to move to a smaller house. I had to move my daughter from that school that I would pay 120,000 back to public primary. I think that thing, we have never worked it out with my daughter. She still feels like, she tells the teachers that I don't love her. But we've worked around it, but now I know the reason as to why she feels I don't love her, because I've put a lot of my emotions huku than to even getting her out of that school back to a public school. That was some of the things that make her think that I don't love her. And those are sacrifices that I had to make at that point. So my husband was not for it. Kabisa, he wasn't for it. And in fact, up to date, hajakubali na kwamba I made that decision. In fact, he tells me every day. My firstborn son, he told me, I'm not a philanthropist, ma'am. I will never be one. But mimi, as long as my fees is paid, whatever you do is none of my problem. And sometimes here huitisha pesa just for me to tell him I don't have. Ndia nikumbushe, you know, I told you siwache kazi. In 2019, I'm now alone together with my family. We are the only people that know that I have made this decision and I'm not going back. I wanted this thing to be a surprise to the HR. So now we have again the call. So it is a 3-hour call. No, Ruth, this is the worst decision you are making. But I told her, now, this time we are not going back to where we are at 2016. We were at 2016. This time, I have made up my mind. And where are you going? I'm going to serve the Lord. And for sure, I was going to serve the Lord, but not here. Ideally, it was not here. I thought I was going to be in the church, be a pastor, go back to theology, be a pastor, and serve Githogoro, serve the children, but outside Githogoro. I was ready for that. But being here from 8 to 5 was not something I was still ready for. I think I have always done this with a lot of passion from my heart. A lot of passion from my heart. So the Archangel had already brought us here in a very spacious place. So I needed just to do 1, 2, 3 with the savings that I had, because now we were starting. And come March, COVID happens. I don't have a job. I don't have money. I don't have savings. I have children. That was the darkest part of my life.
And you left a well-paying job.
And that is what my friends would tell me. You can't call anybody. Because I think I tried. Ruth, wewe ulikataa kazi. Unakumbuka ulikataa kazi. Nilikukataza. And then the relatives would tell you, Nasi tulikukataza. We told you.
Yeah.
We told you. Now you regret, and I would come back to God. Aki Mungu na vile. I knew we had an agreement. You told me you will not leave me. You told me I would be fed. So this time, friends have already left. Relatives are reminding you of the mistake that you did, and you don't have money. So I called the church. I needed a gas for the first time. The first thing that I needed then was the gas. And we were told in the ushering department that ukijikuta hauna food, just let them in. So I told them, I never wanted to expose myself that kimeniramba.
Yeah.
So I just told them, nijazieni gas ile kubwa. Me, I'll be sorted. But my argument was with God. So I had the gas nimejaziwa. but where is food? Then my sister parks her vehicle nyuma hapo kwa nyuma, seat za nyuma na food. I never even told her I didn't have food, but I think God just talked to her. She packed that food. That is March now. We are getting into April. Hii chakula inaisha. I'm asking God, unaona hii chakula inaisha, I can't call my sister to tell her that I don't have food again.
Yeah.
So after ikifika 6 I went to sleep. I went back to sleep. By the way, during Corona, it was my best time with God. I enjoyed my relationship with God. So I went back to sleep. So when I woke up, there is a lady called Paloma, the one that is in charge of the archangels. I found her text. Ruth, do you have food? Do you know people around Githogoro that you can support with food? Mimi ni nani? When I woke up, I think it was 10. Before even you went there, before even you go to Githogoro, I'm the first one in the list. So no problem. We have more than enough.
Wow.
And my friend and I ate. I had more than enough. Mpaka mwezi wa kumi, mpaka December yote we had. Food was more than enough. And on top of that, we supplied food. Huku Githogoro, we supplied food more than millions of money. We really did it. So that was the first experiment, my first experiment with God's divine provision. We are coming back in 2021. We are done with COVID. The school is reopening, but I didn't know that now the whole community was looking on me. Now it was like I had already showed them that here is God coming up with help. So we received children with different challenges economically, children that have been abused, and they just needed love. I think the first one, I think that was a shocker, or that was a big burden for me, because this woman was coming from Ukambani. Children are very dirty, mpaka nywele ziko na chawa. And herself, she's not looking okay. And she wants me to take the children because she's sure if the children are here, they will eat. So yeye anajua kwenye kutafuta chakula, but nichukue tu watoto wakule hata wasisome. You know, the children that are coming here, education is secondary. The primary need is food.
It's food.
Yes. They are sure. They'll take their breakfast, they'll take their uji, they'll take their lunch. So if you give them education, to them that is an added advantage. If you don't give them, they are okay. It's
well and good.
Yeah, that is well and good. So, and I'm asking her why. Now I wanted to know her story, and her story was painful. She had a 9-year-old girl, and in fact some of the children are still here. We have still hosted them up to date. The firstborn, the girl is the one that has now gone to junior high school because she was here last year in grade 6. So the girl, when she went to give birth to the lastborn, the girl was 5 years old.
Okay.
So the father, she left the father with the other children, and the girl was being raped by the father. So when she came back, the girl was really sick. Huku chini kulikuwa kumeharibiwa sana. Now she had to report, and the husband was arrested. And now the whole family ganged against her.
Oh no.
Yes. Why have you allowed our son to be arrested? So we want to deal with you. So she had to run away. So she's been running away. As then somebody tells her, enda kwa hiyo shule utafute mtu anaitwa Ruth, atakusaidia na watoto. So you see, this girl, she doesn't even need education. She doesn't even need that food. She needs reassurance. She needs love. She needs to be understood and to feel safe. And to trust people, because she has lost her trust. So we've worked with that lady together with the girl, counseling here and there, because I've also done some psychology. So we've worked with the girl until today. The girl is picking up. She can even wash herself, because I think for the first 1 year she looked different. She was a total stranger. She couldn't write. She couldn't talk to anybody. She would walk on her own. Doesn't shower. Dirty. I started receiving people with different needs. The girls that are pregnant at 13 years, sometimes you don't even know what to do with these people. And I ask God, is this all these things I can't handle? Not unless you give me a different place to handle the young mothers, the molested children, and then now the school. Because the idea is the school. You nurture these children from when they are young.
And what are some of the challenges that you are experiencing today?
The challenges are there, many still, many, because you see the kind of the size of the classrooms that we had put up. Not because that is what I wanted to do. By the time we were putting up the classrooms, I was not coming to Githogoro. I was just doing it partly. But now that I want to do it as my full-time job, we need to expand because the need is there. We have many children that need to just be made to feel safe, be reassured that they are human beings, and just to be given love.
How many children do you have today in this school?
Currently we have 200. Last year we had 285. And then it was chaotic. It was really chaotic because I think last year I had overstretched my muscles because I had the young mothers and I had the 280, and you see the facility is very small. So we had to sit down and to see how many numbers can we work with. And you see now food we are being given by the partners. So how many children were they willing to feed? Because again, if we had 300, it meant that the food that we were receiving was not even enough for them. So we were not giving quality. And because we wanted to give, even if we are going to transform one, it has to be quality oriented. So we realized that we have to drop some. I know it was not good for them, but we had to transfer them to a public school. We need so much. The partners that we have are only providing us with food. For them, it is food because that is what, as a group, it's a group of people, and their agreement is to support us with food. So how we sustain our teachers is upon us. So what happens is an individual can say, I'll pay, give us a fee structure, we pay for 2 children. A parent might take to the employer who pays fees, a certain amount of fees every term. So we mobilize this money from different people, from parents. There are parents that paid 2,000, 3,000, up to 8,000, depending on who is paying for you, who is helping you pay. Our normal school fees is 8,000 per term, but there are 30 children that are not paying even a single coin. There are those that are paying only 2,000. There are them that are paying 3,000, depending on the ability of the parents. And there are those that are paid for by friends. Ruth, what are you doing? How can we help you? If you can only pay school fees for 2 or 1 child, I'm good. That is the help that how we are able to raise salaries for 14 teachers. And we also need to expand our infrastructure. The classrooms are very tiny because the bigger idea, the bigger call was not there. If we can get a way of expanding our classrooms, we bring a better classroom. We raise them. We can bring this one down. I think that is my immediate need. We bring this one down and then we raise a spacious classroom, because these ones look like nyumba za kuishi.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They are very tiny. It can only accommodate, spaciously accommodate 12 children. But you see there are some classrooms that have 30 in that. So they are sitting like this, that you can't even turn. And that is why even we decided to send some children to the public school, because we could not even contain them inside those classrooms. It is so tiny. So if we can build bigger classrooms for now, that is our immediate challenge. And then again, we have children going to Form 1 next year that we don't know. We have sustained them here from playgroup to standard 8. Now, transitioning to high school is by faith. By faith. If anybody is willing just to even to take one to high school for the next 4 years, that one will be a blessing for me, because we shall have transformed the life of that child. Okay. But again, my fear is you've taken care of them for 8 years. You are sending them back to the same environment, the same hostile homestead. it beats the logic.
Okay.
All the work that we have put in them for 8 years. You know, at a standard 8 child is a 13, 14-year-old. They are not ready to make major decisions when they are out of school. They can only be contained in a high school to be mature, so that when they are now out and back to Githogoro, they can now make their own decisions on how they want their lives to be.
Okay.
But leaving them at that point breaks my heart. That is another thing that is of great concern in my life. And the third one, there are lessons that we don't do, and they are examinable. Like swimming, we can't go for swimming, but there are different partners, that schools that have allowed us to go there. Like Muthaiga Primary has allowed us to go there. But how do we move from mobility? We can't move from here to Muthaiga because we don't have any means of transport. If we can even get even a van, kadogo to help us move.
And what motivates you to keep on going? Every day you wake up, come to this place, you know, help them where you can. What is that thing that motivates you?
Oh, I love the genuineness in the children's faces. A child is very genuine. They will tell you no for no and yes for yes. And then seeing the transformation that is coming with these children. They have a very bright mind. They only lack the opportunity to be mentored.